Hello, in this session we're going to quickly note just a couple items when it comes to testing and organization. The first thing, there are a couple modes inside Subassembly Composer in the preview mode window. There's two panels, the first one being the roadway mode. That's the default preview mode that Subassembly Composer is set to, and that's used in building a corridor, and it displays a preview of the geometry that is used that you're defining within your Subassembly Composer. Using some of the target parameters and so forth that are defined there. So that's the preview default mode in Subassembly Composer. There's also a layout mode, so you can switch back and forth between the two, and that's used during the composition, just like the roadway mode, but the layout mode hides a lot of the target parameters, and the geometry and the values, the default values, show that typically override the target parameters. So those two modes are in the Subassembly Composer preview pane. A lot of testing. So testing the subassembly behavior. If you assign a target parameter, the preview panel displays it, kind of as we just mentioned. If the geometry element reference a target parameter, you can drag that parameter to test how it reacts. And it does that in the nearest tenth of a foot increment. So you can change that in the preview value on the target parameters tab, but as you're testing and seeing that, you can look at how the behavior acts prior to going to Civil 3D. And then once in Civil 3D, pretty straightforward. Import the PKT files as we previously showed. Use a sample file, a sample Civil 3D file for an example. I wouldn't put this into any working drawings. You never know what could happen and what could go corrupt at that point, especially during testing. So use a sample file or do a save as a sample file of your project. And then test, and retest. You never get it right the first time most of the time, and so you want to make sure that you're testing that subassembly out early and often. Do so in Subassembly Composer, but more importantly, do so inside Civil 3D. And then distributing that within your organization. This could vary across the board, but making sure that you have items such as the imagery that shows up in your tool palette is very helpful. The help file, extremely helpful. And putting that in a central location where everybody can access that. So maybe you put that on a server or in a standards folder or something. But you must have all that stuff. So you got to have the PKT file, add it to the catalog, and maybe point everybody to a certain standards folder so it's not residing across the local drive of thousands of people. That way, as updates happen, you can get those updates or they can access those as needed. And then where can you find more information? Autodesk Help is great. There's a lot of stuff out there on the Autodesk Help. Very simple to advanced use cases. So if you do have a question, that's always a nice go-to. Autodesk University classes. There's a lot of stuff online that you can go to, and you just search Subassembly Composer. You can find classes, you can find labs. They've got videos, documentation, data sets. So typically you can find some really good stuff on AU classes. Knowledge.autodesk.com is another place. There's a lot of forums, a lot of helpful stuff out there. One of my favorites is LinkedIn. I continuously go out to LinkedIn and you ask a question, pose a question, and you'll get a lot of answers. People are always willing to share their knowledge and their expertise in certain things. So LinkedIn, I think, is a great tool for finding more information and usually leads to better information or better real world use case type things there. So go out to LinkedIn and ask a question. And finally, just do it. There's no better way to learn something than just to jump right into it, mess it up, go back and forth, and just get familiar with the interface, get familiar with the workings of Subassembly Composer. So I was a little scared at first. I jumped in and got to know it a lot better, and it's not too bad. So again, just do it.